Is everybody ready? Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Bucks County District Attorney Jennifer Schorn. I'm here to report that 3 men have been arrested for inflicting child sexual abuse crimes against a 13-year-old female child from the Central Bucks area. Zachary Lee McCauley of Louisville, Kentucky, who's 29 years of age, was arrested, as was 67-year-old John Thomas Van Ingen and 42-year-old Randy Francis Quinn. As you may recall, in February of this year, we appealed to the public, using your help, the media, to get word out because we made an arrest of a child sexual predator, Mark Wills, who resided in Bucks County. And we needed the public's help in trying to identify some of the unidentified victims that evidence showed were victimized by this individual. We also appealed to the parents to get the word out to their children to make sure they keep an open dialogue as to the dangers of online predators, as well as to check their children's devices. And one mother did just that. She had concerns for her daughter's well-being, and her concerns were confirmed when she saw suspicious activity. As a result, she reported her concerns to my office, and thanks to this amazing team of county detectives standing behind me, they opened an investigation. And they identified a perpetrator from Kentucky who was sexually exploiting this 13-year-old child. Not only was he sexually exploiting her, but he was manufacturing child sexual abuse materials, and he was trafficking her to other men. This man accessed this child through an online platform, Snapchat, and he did so portraying himself as a peer, a 17-year-old boy interested in dating this child. And he used grooming tactics to lower her inhibition, and then those tactics evolved into threatening to inflict harm upon her mother if she did not comply with his demands. And as a result, this 13-year-old child's identity, her picture, was posted on an application that is a dating application, Grindr, where then she was trafficked to other men for their own deviant sexual purposes. As a result, multiple men responded to the post that this trafficker, McCauley, posted of this victim, and they pursued this child and engaged in statutory sexual intercourse with this child. One individual did so repeatedly, and he also live streamed his victimization of this child to the trafficker, McCauley, creating child pornography. I praise the mother in this case because her instincts were correct. Although it was not related to the original case, she obviously did exactly what we asked her to do. And I praise the victim in this case. The victim is only 13 years of age, and she is so strong, and she is not to be blamed for what occurred. But these cases cannot succeed without the amazing team of county detectives and the other detectives throughout Bucks County who make up our Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. They use the resources and their expertise to battle these crimes every single day. 40 years ago, the mantra to raise awareness for child sexual abuse was stranger danger, and we know that was not accurate. Yes, on occasion, there was a stranger perpetrating crimes upon children, but more often than not, these individuals would gain access to children by grooming them, getting close to them, and then slowly but surely victimizing those children. They were typically known offenders. But now in this digital age and with the social media platforms that are available for these predators, we now face such dangerous times because it's a combination of both. We have strangers accessing our children, complete and utter strangers to the parents and caregivers, and however, those children befriend these individuals and invite them into their very home and oftentimes their very own bedrooms. And then these crimes unfold. We could not succeed without the amazing people that battle these crimes day in and day out. These individuals are facing serious crimes. As it relates to McCauley, he is currently incarcerated in the state of Kentucky, and he is awaiting extradition. As it relates to Van Ingen and as it relates to Quinn, they will be prosecuted forthwith. They're presently out on bail based on what a judge determined was appropriate for bail. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I believe there's other victims
This case exemplifies just how long the reach is of a child sexual predator using these social media platforms. I can assure you that currently this investigation is still very much active, and if there are additional victims, we will make sure that this individual is prosecuted for those crimes.
Was the girl going to their home, or were they able to get to her house, as they were saying?
Based on the way this victim was trafficked, arrangements were made for this child to be picked up, and if that's not a flag, I don't know what is, and to be taken to various locations in Bucks County for these other two predators to engage in sexual intercourse with this 13-year-old.
Jen, do you know if Mr. McCauley was being paid by these individuals?
Again, the investigation is still pending as it relates to that, but we do know that, in fact, as a result of the one live stream, two different live stream videos that were captured by McCauley, that whether he's paid in a traditional sense or he's using that as currency online with other predators, time will tell. The investigation is still pending as it relates to that. But obviously, there is really, it's unthinkable what he was doing. And to understand that those images and those videos are out there and very, very difficult for us to ever take down from the internet.
Does he have any previous criminal history in Kentucky of this nature?
As you know, I'm not able to comment as to prior criminal history, but I do know that obviously this was not an isolated incident. This was repeated acts of victimization of this child.
Can you talk to us about working with authorities in Kentucky, and are you also working with federal partners?
We're working with the Kentucky authorities who have been tremendously helpful, the Office of the Attorney General in the state of Kentucky, and specifically, if I just forgive me for a minute, St. Matthews Police Department in Kentucky. At this juncture, it's the team of county detectives out of my office working with Kentucky authorities. We always work well with our federal partnership, and we determine who's best suited to quite frankly, get the maximum result in this case. And right now, based on the hands-on crimes that were perpetrated upon this child, we're confident that we're the best agency to prosecute these defendants.
Can you share the other two men? Did they have any prior history, prior arrests, anything of that nature?
I'm not able to speak to that, but as you know, we have a 67-year-old man engaging in sexual intercourse with a 13-year-old child from Bucks County and a 42-year-old man. There was actually a third man who met with this child, and when he met her in person, it was immediately apparent that she was a child and that he did not engage in the sexual encounter that he intended to engage in. So it speaks volumes for the evidence we have in this case, and we anticipate these allegations will be substantiated when the process unfolds.
So on this app, the 13-year-old was being portrayed as an 18-year-old?
So because the application that was used to traffic this child was Grindr, and it requires an identity of an individual being 18, this trafficker, McCauley, instructed her as to how to create a fake account, and he had access to the credentials. So naturally, he advertises her as a 13-year-old, but she is a 13-year-old child by all accounts. So immediately apparent, obviously, at least to one man.
How long was this all going on for?
Throughout the month of October, several episodes throughout the month of October.
And when did the Kentucky man first contact her? How long has that contact been?
I believe, let me just confirm, it was several weeks, but I would like to just confirm that fact. September was the first contact, and for weeks was grooming, and then ultimately culminating in these sexual offenses.
Can you give us a full timeline? It started in October, but how long did it go on?
Started in September was the communication, several weeks of grooming, and then went throughout the month of October. And those details will become more specific in time.
Jen, is there any sense of how the two connected? I mean, you have somebody in Kentucky talking to a teen in Bucks County. Is there any sense, was it through, I know Snapchat's a social media platform, was it a chat room about a specific topic? Did he just randomly message multiple people? How did that?
He befriended her through Snap, portraying himself as a 17-year-old boy, Jake, who she thought was interested in her. And that's unfortunately a theme we see time and time again. And these forums, it allows for these type of predators to really do so with anonymity, and it's quite frightening as a result.
And just for clarity, the mom reached out after this Mark Wills presser in February?
Yes, she feared, given the information, and again, I praise the media because we can't do it without you. She feared her daughter may be a victim because he was a local predator. He was a Bucks County man. And so in doing so, she contacted Detective Kelsey Pitts. And I apologize, I also failed to mention who's behind me, and I'll do that at the conclusion. She contacted Detective Kelsey Pitts from my office, fearing that her child may be a victim of this man. And due to the extraordinary work that Detective Pitts and Detective Eric Landamia, and as you know, Chief Greg Beidler from the county detectives, due to their outstanding work, they were able to quickly determine that she was in fact a victim, just not of Mark Wills.
What raised the mother's suspicions? Was it the appearance of other people picking her up and dropping her off? Why did she
No,
do that?
no. In fact, no, that's what's really scary in this case. It was not that, and that's how, sophisticated these crimes can be. It's some of the things we encourage parents to be aware of. Children taking their phone into their bedrooms and communicating with people who are unknown. So that initially was the suspicious behavior that the mom noted, and then subsequently taking her daughter's cell phone and then providing it to law enforcement. And again, I can't praise the mother enough, and I can't praise this child victim enough. She is not to be blamed. These predators are so good at what they do, at grooming these child victims and making them think they're doing this in the name of love and or fear that their loved ones would be harmed.
Jen, can you just share with us one more time, for anybody watching, this time around, what do you have to say to parents that might feel something's off?
I do this every time myself. Every time a case like this presents, I go home and have the dialogue, or my husband does with our own children, to make sure that they are aware of the online dangers, and you have to look at their devices. I understand there's a level of privacy you give your children, but you cannot be vigilant enough as it relates to the dangers that are online. You see it week after week. We're coming to you, appealing to you for help, because that's how frequent. And again, it's not because there's a disproportionate number of sex offenders in Bucks County. It's because the amazing team I have working out of my office and in the municipal police departments to combat these crimes. So that's the message, and thank you for asking it.
The third man, is he facing any charges? Is he cooperating with the investigation?
He cooperated with the investigation and at present is not facing any charges because, as you know, our information thus far confirmed what he said, that there was no subsequent physical relationship with this child. Thank you. If there are no more questions, thank you for your time.